We're live! Hey everybody, what's happening? Welcome to KickASSery. I have with me Summer Chaffin again. And let me read just kind of real quick. So KickASSery is this opportunity for me to talk to amazing people like Summer and a whole bunch of other people in my life that, whether they know it or not, they have influenced me, whether directly or indirectly. And I loved the conversation I originally had with Summer, I don't know, a couple months ago, to be on here. Initially, she's like, why the hell do you want, huh? You know, kind of a deal. And the thing that, and Summer, I'll let you talk sometime during this whole thing.
No
The thing that I love about this is that I myself am realizing how people, even if I've never met them, have influenced me, whether something they've done or I've seen something on social media or they've written something or whatever, you know, it has influenced me. And that's what this is all about. So with that, who's Summer? Who are you? What do you do?
I am a stay-at-home mom of 7 kids. Been married for almost 23 years. Seriously, I've never had a real job. I mean, we owned a couple of businesses when we were in Salmon, so I worked, for the husband. But other than that, I've never had a job till I got all my kids in school, and I kind of started, a network marketing business with Plexus. So I spend my days just, doing my house work stuff and doing Plexus, and that's who I am, I guess.
7 kids. I can't handle 2.
Seriously, 2 is a piece of cake. I don't get that. That's
Hi.
1 for each hand.
Hi. Yeah. Usually. Yeah. So, okay, what are the ages of your kids?
So my oldest one just turned 21. So I've got 21, 19, 18, 14, 10, 9, and just turned 6. Stetson turned 6 yesterday.
What'd you do? Start having kids when you were 10?
19. I got married when I was 17. And I turn 40 next week.
Not a chance in hell. What?
Yeah, seriously.
So there's 2 years between you and Crystal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay. I want to get your sister on here one of these days so that I can embarrass the crap out of her about high school stories.
It needs to be done.
When I asked her the other day, she basically flat out said,
She told me you had accidentally messaged her. She was like, I looked at him like, I think you have the wrong person. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, so I do have a little piece of bragging that I'm going to open up, and then you can gush on yourself. So you're Plexus, right? You've been doing Plexus for how long now?
8 months.
8 months. So now when people get their new member packet, what do they see now?
Oh my gosh. So there's a picture of me in the welcome packet. Like, do you remember the sobbing videos and the crap of me laying on the floor because I was so terrified to go to Florida? And I'd only been with Plexus for like a month and a half. And I get to go to this leaders retreat, and we take a picture of me and the girls that I'm with, and it makes it in the welcome pack. I about crapped when I saw that. I was like, are you kidding me? It was crazy.
So, okay, let's back up a second. All right, so you currently live where? You're up in northern Montana, up in the BFE somewhere,
Yep.
right? Okay.
We're in Chinook. Yep.
Right. I mean, it's like Salmon. It's not quite the end of the world, but you can see it from there.
It might be the end of the world.
Especially with the temperatures you guys have been getting.
Right.
Okay, so you started with Plexus, which that puts you out of your comfort zone. Then you started doing these videos. That's where I kind of started seeing. I was like, Chaffin. Okay, I grew up with a bunch of Chaffins. Which Chaffin is this, right?
Right.
So I started seeing that. And then, yeah, I'm seeing you laying on the floor crying. I'm like, the hell's wrong with you? What is going on? So, of course, as you're going through your Facebook feed and you see videos but no audio, and I'm like, okay, what is this? So, because had you ever been on an airplane before?
I had been on an airplane twice before, but I always had people with me. And it had been like 12 years since the last time I'd flown anywhere. So I was more than terrified to do that. Literally, people were laughing at the one of me laying on the floor crying, but I was really crying. Like, I was really that scared. So it wasn't as funny. I mean, everybody got a kick out of it, but I was being serious. I was terrified.
So where did you get, I mean, you're doing all these things that are super taking you out of your comfort zone. You're doing these things that are super, you are actually, and I'm hearing this from a lot of people, you are actually encouraging a lot of people around the country because you are going out and doing things that you have been very vocal about, that you're like, but I'm doing it anyway. Where are you getting the courage? Where are you getting the balls to do that?
That's a good question. I, I don't know, because honestly, growing up, I was picked on so much that invisibility was my superpower. If I could be invisible, that was the best thing, because then people weren't punching me or spitting on me or whatever. And so it's taken a lot for me to step out and be like, okay, this is who I really am. Here I am. Look at me. It's terrifying. And I think that I just finally got to a point, and maybe it took having that special needs kid that has toughened me up and made me already step out of that comfort zone a little bit. And I was just like, you know what? I've got all these kids, especially a lot of girls, and they need to see that I am tough and I am brave and I'm willing to do crazy things just for the sake of doing something crazy, just to live life, you know? And also, I think when Crystal's husband died last year, it really made us all realize that your world can end right now. And if you're just sitting on your butt, going through your day, not being daring, not being brave, and not stepping out of that zone, you're not living your life. You're just, existing. And I think it really woke me up to some of that stuff, if that makes sense.
No, it makes absolute sense. And, you know, that is why you have influenced me, is because I'm seeing you do things that, and how am I trying to say this? You're openly saying, this is crap I would not normally do. This is insanely scary for me to go to Florida by myself to do this, which for a lot of people, that'd be like not even a choice. They wouldn't even give themselves that opportunity. And yet you're like, done. We're going to make this happen. So how has your family then? I mean, do you have good support from your family, or are you on an island with all of these major changes that you're doing?
It's been a little bit of a struggle because, for 22 years, my husband has had my undivided attention. And now all of a sudden I'm being pulled in all these different directions. And he and I have never gone on a trip. So that trip to Florida by myself, he was like, are you kidding me? You're going to go on a trip all by yourself without me? And I was like, you're on my team. You're welcome to come. He's like, no. And so it's been a little bit of a struggle, because he'll do that little man pout where I'm on the phone or I'm, signing somebody up, and he's like, you never have time for me anymore. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you leave me for weeks at a time to go hunting. Put on your big boy pants and it'll be fine. So it's, a little back and forth there, but in the end, it's going to work out fine.
Yeah, there you go. But I want you to myself.
That's exactly. See, I knew you'd know what I was talking about.
No. So, and the other thing, something that I've been struggling with for years and years is I'm older than I am young anymore. And I have this tendency of reverting back to, well, I should have accomplished more by this age. I should have, right? I'm not where I thought I would be by this time in my life, blah, blah, blah. Gary Vaynerchuk, I don't know if you follow him much or not.
A little
bit. He said something, he did a video. He does videos like 4 times a day. The dude is like insane. But there was something that a video I watched not too long ago, and basically he was like, listen, because he talks a lot to younger kids, high school, 20s. That's like his thing. That's his thing. But he's like, listen, he's like, KFC, the guy was, the colonel was 67 years old when he started KFC. Gary himself was 40 when he started VaynerMedia, and so he listed off all of these really, really successful brands and people. And he's like, these people started when they were 38. These people started when they were 50.
Yep.
These people, so it really, it helped me change my mentality is that I'm not the end of my life. There's still a ton of time. And that's something that I'm looking at you. I'm like, holy crap, you are starting something that is incredible. And you're not 25. You're not 18. You don't look your age by any stretch of the imagination, and that's super encouraging is that you are taking on challenges that by this time in our life, we have set what we are willing to do and what we're not willing to do. And you're like, screw it, done.
Exactly. I think it helped that my husband graduated dental school after he was 40. So he was like, they called him grandpa because he was the oldest one in his class. But it's like, if he can go and become, a dentist, that's, it took him 7 years of schooling. Then, you know what? I can do a little network marketing from home. I can figure it out because honestly, I was doing everything I set out to do. I was married. I was a mom. I was raising good kids. And then all of a sudden, all my kids went to school. And it was like, well, what do I do now?
Right.
Who am I supposed to be if my kids are at school? And so it came at just the right time, I think.
Awesome. So, and I feel that I'm having more and more conversations now with folks that their kids are in school or their kids are now left the house. And they're like, okay, because we as parents, especially stay-at-home parents, put so much of our identity into the kids or associated around the kids. And, my mom was that way, and it was hard for me when she went to work because she was a literal stay-at-home mom. She took care of me. She took care of the ranch. And then when we moved off the Maxwell ranch to a smaller property, she's like, okay, it's time for me to get a job. I was like, no, you're leaving me.
Really?
You're leaving me. She worked down the street like 2 miles away. It wasn't like, but as a 9-10-year-old, I was like, but you're here for every whim of mine,
Right.
So.
And for me, my mom worked and my dad played and they were never around. Like that day that I went on with my girls, whatever day it was, in our prom dresses, we're sitting there, in our prom dresses, eating hamburgers and fries. And I said, I have never been on a date like this with my mom. Not ever. And I'm almost 40. And so I wanted to, to be something different than what I grew up with.
Right.
And so my life is different than what I grew up with, for sure.
My dad, he was around. My mom was always there. And my dad, as a rancher, as an outfitter, as a trapper, as a everything you could ever think of doing guy, he was gone a lot. He'd be gone for a week, 2 weeks, a month at a time, up in the mountains doing his thing.
Wow.
And hunting season, he'd be gone a week at a time. When he was prospecting, dredging and stuff, he'd be gone a month at a time. He'd go horn hunting or whatever. That was our life. That's how it was. And I went with him a lot. But yeah, like football, he never went to one football game. 4-H stuff, never went to one 4-H thing. So legacy, right, is you're changing your legacy. Your
Absolutely.
parents didn't do that with you, so you've made a point to do that with your children. My kids, I'm the stay-at-home dad, really, kind of, sort of. Even though I can't be a true stay-at-home dad, or I'd probably be in prison for killing my own children. But with that said, though, is that, yeah, I've made a choice. I made a choice that I'm going to be very involved in my kids' life, period. Whether it's 4-H, right, whether it's sports, whether it's whatever. So, oh, wow, that was a flyby. That thought just went right like that. So what is some encouragement that you give to your team? You're building this team, you're building this network. So what is some of the encouragement you give to them to say, it's okay. Look, I did this. I'm doing this. how do you help them break that of I can't?
Well, so far my team is very small, and none of them are really trying to do the business for the most part. I think I've got maybe one that's thinking about it. And so I haven't had to do a lot of encouraging yet. Right now, my main focus is on me because as that invisible person, leadership is something I know nothing about. And so I'm reading books. I uploaded this app called Think Up where you talk, you tell yourself positive affirmations, you record your own voice saying stuff. And I got to tell you, I've only been doing that this week, and it feels so bizarre to listen to myself say, you're beautiful, you're capable, you're smart. It's so bizarre. And I know that it's a very necessary step, but I must be doing something right. Maybe I'm not encouraging my team so much, but people on Facebook are like, oh my gosh, you're my inspiration. You inspire me every day. And I'm just me? Like, seriously, me? Because that was not who I was. That's not something I did. I mean, I was nice to the special needs kids and I was nice to, kids that were picked on, but I was never just like somebody that people looked up to. So it's been a huge process, something that I'm working on every single day. And I had no idea how negative I was and still am.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I'm absolutely with you there. That's a process I have to go through every day because it's easy for me to say, God, Dale, you're such a schmuck. God, stop being a tart. Whatever it is, and it's easy. But the hard thing is to say, no, you got this. You're all right. You're doing good. You're whatever that positive thing is. And it's funny. It's so funny because you do it. You encourage me. You really do. Especially with the challenge that we've been doing. You're on there all the time, typing in and saying, God, you guys suck, or man, I rocked this out, or whatever it is, And I guess part of it for me is you're constantly engaged.
Right.
You are engaged, and whether it's the challenge that we are a part of, or it's this, I truly I've said this, and I want to say it to your face. Thank you so much, because whenever we do this, I can almost count within the first couple minutes. I can look over in the message board that I have over here, and there's going to be Summer Chaffin. Welcome to KickASSery, whomever it is. Welcome to the family. I'm like, and it's awesome because
my kids laugh at me because when I see it come up, KickASSery is going live. I'm like, guys, I gotta get on there. They're like, you don't have to watch it live. I'm like, yes, I do. You don't understand. I need to be on there. I think I'm a dork. So you're welcome.
Yeah, seriously. Thank you. And but it's just showing that you are, and I don't know the right way to say this, but you're engaged. You've made a choice to engage with these things. And I feel that that's part of what people are resonating. And you're not scared to tell your story about your son, about your past, about your struggles, lay on the floor and crying, whatever that is. And I've had several people, just so you know, they're like, oh my gosh, that Summer, she's amazing. She's this, she's that.
You're full of crap.
No. Let me tell you a story real quick. Is that, and I've said this many times on here, is that something that I'm finding is a very interesting. I'm getting very interesting pushback when I reach out to people to do this, and these are people I know. These are people that know my flaws, that know my crap, right? And yet, this pushback I'm getting, which you and I dealt with as well, is I'm not good enough to be on your show, right? I can't. And no joke, this conversation has happened twice with people that I'm discussing to be on in the future. Is they're like, I'm not a Summer Chaffin, I'm not a Nancy, I'm not these people. I'm like, okay, I am building these people up because this is the way people are to me, right? I'm building Summer up. I'm building these people up because I'm putting these people on pedestals because that is what they are to me. And so I have to bring a little reality into it, and I say, okay, let's break this down a little bit, and I break it down. I'm like, blah 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 blah, right? But seriously and honestly, is that you don't see it. And this is, I guess this is my learning process through this, is that you don't see what everyone else sees. I don't
Right.
see what everyone else sees. I've not
Right.
seen that forever. And that's why we need mentors. That's why we
Right.
need good friends. And there's a distinction between a true good friend and just a friend. A true good friend will kick our teeth in and pick us up after they do it, right? And
Absolutely.
the other ones will just say, "Oh, you're wonderful, you're great,"
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what I'm learning for me through this process is that others see in us a lot of times what we don't.
Absolutely. And I did a post on that this week where I was like, I put that profile picture up, which I think is awful because I have like this wicked witch nose going on from the side profile. And there was so much positive, I mean, so many likes and so many comments. I was just like, holy crap. If I would love to see what you guys see when you look at me. Because in high school, it was people telling me, you know, you could be attractive if it wasn't for your face. And so it's like I have all that in my head and I'm thinking, what are they seeing? Because I'm looking at the same picture and I still don't like it, you know? So it's fascinating. It would be fascinating to, you know, be able to see yourself through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah, humbling. Um, Absolutely humbling. And isn't it crazy how we not let it's a conditioning. From our youth, it's a conditioning scenario where people say things enough that you know, and it's funny because when I was a kid, I wasn't a fat kid. I wasn't overweight like I am now. I was a skinny kid. I was fit, but yet what's the right way to put this? The schoolyard thing for me was Dale the whale sat on the pail in the middle of the trail, kind of a deal. And
No kidding.
oh yeah, absolutely. And so I associated that over enough years of hearing that is Dale the whale. Dale's fat.
Absolutely.
Dale's blah 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 blah, right? And then you
Yep.
fast forward into football. Dude, when I was playing football my senior year, I weighed maybe 185 pounds,
Nice.
right? I
Yeah.
weigh a whole hell of a lot more than that now. But even then, I associated myself with being the fat kid.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't. Looking back,
Right.
retrospective,
Right.
I wasn't the
Right.
fat kid, but that's how I associated myself.
Yeah.
And then fast forward 20 years and you're like, oh, I'm just, whatever. And everybody around us are like, no, shut your face.
Right.
you know, so why do we do this to ourselves?
Yeah. So we're reading a book so we can better ourselves called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself.
Love
And
it.
it is all about that negative conditioning that you get, even well-meaning negative comments, you know. And it really opened my eyes to the fact that, yeah, what I say, if you tell your kid, you suck at doing dishes, this looks like crap, or you're the worst bedroom cleaner ever, they're probably going to be the worst bedroom cleaner ever. And so I'm like, you are so great at doing the dishes, even though in reality it sucks. They did a crap job. I'm like, I'm going to tell them that. So
Yeah.
maybe they will turn out to be good at that
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. So it's so funny you say that. So this is an older book. See at the top, it's a Zig Ziglar book, right?
Okay.
I mean, it was done back in the when was this done? 75.
Ooh,
First printing was in
it's a little,
74.
little.
So the first printing of this was in 74. So a lot of
Okay.
the pop culture stuff is completely antiquated, but and he talks about that. He actually specifically
Yeah.
talks about um, when you tell your kids that they're a brat, they're a pain in the ass, they're whatever, guess what? They're going to be a brat. They're going to be a
Yep.
pain. And he even goes so far as to say, not what you necessarily directly say to them, but what you say about them within earshot to other
Yep.
adults.
Yep.
And he talks a lot about that. He's like, listen, every time someone came to their house and he was talking about his kids, it didn't matter how they acted that day. They were the most amazing, studious, courteous,
Absolutely.
well-mannered kids. because they kept hearing that and that conditioning and that conditioning, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the great thing is we can overcome that negative crap and we can reprogram ourselves to be awesome if we so choose to.
Absolutely. The other piece of that I'm working on myself is the misconception of money. You know, this negative connotation that I'm sure you grew up with in the same community as I did. You know, people who had money were looked down upon. You know, especially those who moved into the area that had money, they were very much looked down upon. It was almost like they were the poor of the community because they had money. And it was even more so that way out in Norfolk, you know. And it's funny. I started going through this book. It's how to be a badass, how to be your badass self. Great book. And she talks a lot about that, about why we are conditioned the way we are about money and why we don't succeed with money and how we're afraid of it or we and all this stuff. And as I was going through that, I was really, really going back, you know, to even when I was 6, 7, 8 years old. And, you know, I had my first jobs. I mean, shoot, let's be honest. I had my first job where I made money. I think I was 6 on the ranch.
Well, so did I.
You know, and but it's funny when you go back and you're like, holy crap, that was not saying anybody was doing anything purposefully to make you when you're 40 years old not as successful as a person, but just the commentary and the discussions and the bitching and the moaning, you're just like, oh, no wonder I messed up.
Well, it's been really interesting with Robert going from a welder to a dentist. And there are some people that if I introduce him as a dentist, will not talk to him.
Right.
If I say he's a welder, well, he's their best friends and they're going to chit chat it up. And so I have to really, you know, look at my audience and decide what he is that day because it really changes how people respond to him.
Well,
he's the same person. Either way you look at him, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah. And like I don't know if you watch Kirk Chester's video. That's a great example of going blue collar or white collar. I mean, that dude has some financial success that I am looking forward to. You know, this guy has worked his freaking tail off. Nothing was ever given to him. Nothing. And his family is plumbers. It's a plumbing family. You know, nothing wrong with that. That's a great profession. It's great money making profession. But the family expected him to be a plumber, and he decided, nope, I don't want to shovel shit all day. I want to go do something else. And now he's an insurance guy, and he's taken over the world. So it can be done, but we have to work out some major stuff. You know.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
But. Okay, so I told you we'd hold this to about a half an hour ish.
Okay.
So what are some of the things that when you're working with your family or you know you're working with your church or whatever, what are some tips and advice that you can give people that are looking at you? They're like, how did you overcome these things?
I think God is involved an awful lot because I don't believe there's coincidences. Things happen for a reason at specific times in your life. And so I think to find the success in my life, I need to be super grateful and acknowledge where it comes from. And as a family, we try to start each day, read our scriptures, do family prayer to make sure that I send those kids out the door with the proper protection. You know, I want them to be protected. I want myself to be protected. And then once we start our day that way, just feels like, I don't know, you just have, I don't know, it's not power, but it's like you just have this boost where things are going to go differently and things are going to go better. And I think once you realize your worth in the whole grand scheme of things, okay, so I'm never going to be president of the United States. I'm not going to be the Queen of England. I'm going to be a mom of 7 living in Chinook, Montana. But that doesn't mean that I'm not ever going to influence anybody somewhere else. Because I think even when I go to Walmart and I choose whatever random checker I go through, I was supposed to go through that checkout line, maybe just to smile and say hi. It wasn't a huge thing. It's not going to change his world forever, probably, but it might be just enough to keep him going for one more day. You just don't know. So my influence is going to be super small. But once I set my mind to the fact that I'm not a nobody, that I still have a plan and a purpose, I think anyone can do that. Anyone can decide that they are worth the air that they breathe and that they have a purpose that is bigger than themselves. Then they can do anything.
Amen. Well said. Well said. And it's so funny you say that real quick. So just before you and I got started here, I was on tech support with GoDaddy to fix something on my website that I'm sorry, I got a website. So the dude was super awesome, super helpful, great attitude. And he asked me what this KickASSery thing is. Well, of course, that opened the opportunity for me to start, and I had to just jump right through the door. And with that said, he kept asking questions. And by the end of it, we had discussed the Clifton Strength Finders and what I was doing with this and my mentors. And he's like, holy smokes. He's like, you just totally made my morning. Thank you. And I was like,
love it.
I kind of felt like I had diarrhea of the mouth there for a minute, but but you're right. You never know. And it's so easy for us to look at someone that is frowny faced and bitchy and whatnot and just say, you suck, versus let's give them a smile. Let's give them a little bit of pep, right? Because we don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't know.
I mean, their dog could have just died for all we know.
Right. And I'll tell you what, this question has tripped me up a couple times when I'm Uber, and I'm like, so how's your day been? And most of the time people are the cordial answers. Oh, I'm good. I'm all right. Every once in a while I'll get well, I'm on the way to the hospital because my boyfriend just got shot, or and I'm like,
wow,
okay, we're doing this. All right, let's go. And those are great conversations.
Absolutely.
They may not be super awesome. They may not make me want to click my heels, but they're still impactful. They're, so yeah.
I never say, oh, I'm fine, I'm good. I'm like, honestly, I'm super crabby today. Or, today's a fantastic day. And they just look at you like, you didn't just say fine. It really throws them off. It's so much fun. Like, I love doing that.
Well, the one that I love is people are like, so how you doing? I'm like, I'm fan-freaking-tastic today.
Right? Love it.
Some people are like, oh, I like that attitude. Other people are just like, I'm going to go over here now.
Take your happy ass and go somewhere else. Yeah.
I've had that happen too. They're like, you're too peppy. I'm not talking to you.
Yep.
Okay. So awesome. Okay. So Summer, what's next for you? What are you working on this year?
Okay. So this is the craziest thing. Plexus convention is in Orlando, Florida again. So I get to go back there in June, and it's like exactly the same place. So I already feel pretty darn good about the fact that I've been there. So I'm not super nervous, although I'll seriously be all alone this time, because I did fly out with someone I'd never met, but I wasn't totally alone last time. So this time I'm going to be alone. But in my head, I can totally do this. I'm going to go. It's going to be awesome. For the rest of this year, my goal was just to keep, thinking up crazy things to do on Facebook, crazy shenanigans, keep uplifting people, keep adding to my team. This last month, I added 5 people to my team. Pretty excited about that. And, head for the stars. I tell myself I'm a diamond ambassador, even though I'm like a little baby at the bottom of the ranks. But I'm like, if I say it enough, I'm going to get there. And so I'm going to go to convention. I'm going to learn what they've got to offer. And I'm going to keep believing that I can do anything.
Because you can.
Hell yeah, I can.
Hell yeah. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, Summer, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and doing a little bit of a follow-up. My big thing is I wanted to brag on you for being now. Everybody gets to see your face whenever. Doesn't matter where they're at. They get to see Summer now, as in their
whether they like it or not.
Yeah, love it. I love it. So love it. So everybody else, thanks for hanging out with us. This just keeps growing and growing and growing. We're almost to 200 likes on the page. I'd love to break that this week. That'd be awesome. We're at 197 as of just before this. So if you don't mind inviting 3 people, that would be just kick ass. I'd appreciate that. Also, if you want to chat with me, there's nothing. This is not painful. Summer, how painful is this?
It was totally awesome.
But how much
Like
sleep did you get last night?
zero. Well, I had like not a lot of sleep, but this was much smoother than what was going on in my dreams. So this is awesome.
Why did we set ourselves up like that? It's messed up. But yeah, I'm always looking forward to it. You know, what's awesome is that I'm scheduling for the end of February already. So
nice.
You know, we're doing really, really well. So guys, thank you so much. Summer, please put your contact info down in the comments when we're all finished here. And then also that book that you're reading, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The topic of that book. So everyone, have an amazing rest of your day. Keep smiling, because like Summer said a few minutes ago, you never know who might need it. And we need to spread some sunshine around. So, all right, guys.
Thanks,
hang with
Dale.
me for just a minute, Summer. All right, guys. Keep smiling. Talk to you soon.